On the road to MotoGP, this is FAB-Racing.
And it'll be Holly Harris on pole for this one. She set a time of a 57.741 in qualifying, and a comfortable 5 seconds faster than anyone else. So really strong qualifying for Holly, and ahead of Andy Weedon, Will Howarth, who makes his return and gets on the mini bike. So it'll be interesting to see what Will can do, because when we started the season down in Lid, he absolutely blitzed the field. So he will be starting in third place with Bernie Hook, your reigning champion and championship leader, in fourth position, Dom Craden in fifth, and Paul Nichols back in sixth position. But yeah, Holly Harris, she will have that run down to turn one, and Andy Weedon alongside. We saw Andy and Holly battling at Wilton Mill just a couple of weeks ago, and so Andy, no slouch at all.
No, absolutely, battling out for podium positions at the front of the Senior Minimoto race. Equally is your championship leader, the number 0 of Bernie Hook, on the gold bike, perhaps celebrating his championship victory before he's actually got it. But he's got a mammoth lead in the championship at the front, so it's going to be a tall order for anyone to be able to catch him, especially with Matt Birkin, who's second in the championship, not here this weekend, and equally Josh Birkin, who's third, also not here. So chance for Bernie Hook to rack up the points on them and extend his championship lead even further. But like we said, Will Howarth is back this weekend. He's dropped down to 7th in the championship with missing the last 2 rounds. But like you said, back at Lid, he was a real strong force. So it'll be really interesting to see what he can do this weekend at Ellough Park. But back at Lid, he seemed to struggle a little bit in the wet weather conditions compared to his pace in the dry. But like I said, that was only because his pace in the dry was so strong and so much stronger than anyone else. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do in this one. But it's Holly Harris lining up on pole position ahead of Andy Weedon and Will Howarth.
Yep, as they get ready to look to the lights and get this one underway, and you can see lights out, and it's a good start there from Holly Harris. As you can see, a slight wobble from Andy Weedon as he manages to get on the power, but around the outside will come Bernie Hook. Does he get the grip on the exit? You can see running onto that white line, so there won't be as much grip there, but it's allowed Andy Weedon to hold position in second. But Holly, great start there off the line. She leads into turn 3 for the first time already. This breakaway 3 have started ahead of anyone else. You can see just dropping the 4th place rider, and but yeah, great start from Holly, up ahead of Andy Weedon and Bernie Hook, and this battle is going to go on. You can think Bernie Hook, he took it a little bit easy in Wilton Mill 2 weeks ago, but this time around you're going to think he's going to be eyeing up that win.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a few races since Bernie Hook took a victory, so he's going to be looking to change that in this one and take another one and assert his dominance in the Senior Minimoto Championship. But like we said, he doesn't actually have to go out and win all these races. He'll still be extending his championship lead because Matt and Josh Birkin, like we said, aren't here this weekend, but he's looking really menacing on the back of these guys now as they head down into turn 1 for the second time. Holly Harris it is that still leads ahead of Andy Weedon and Bernie Hook in 3rd place, your championship leader. But Holly Harris doing a brilliant job to defend at the front, although it looks as if Andy Weedon's getting really close behind, trying to find where he can make a move stick on the number 7 machine.
And we've seen this with Bernie Hook before, that he often just sits and watches a battle evolve in front of him. He doesn't often throw it down the inside, make any rash moves. He'll happily sit there and wait for Andy and Holly to perhaps maybe have a lunge at each other and contact to maybe happen, and then he'll make his move. He's very calculated. He makes the right decisions, but equally, like you say, he's not going to make a decision that's going to compromise his championship. So at the moment, he can sit behind this battle between Holly Harris and Andy Weedon, and he knows he's still going to be picking up a podium with Dom Craden in 4th position, 7 seconds down from this leading 3. So yeah, if you're Bernie Hook, it's just picking up the positions as and when they come to. He doesn't need to fight for anything, but of course you say that to any racer, they want to win, so it's hard for us to say yeah, he's quite happy with 3rd, but I'm sure in his head he's thinking, I want to win this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a strange situation for Bernie Hook because he doesn't actually have to win these races, doesn't have to take many risks, but at the same time, like I say, he's going to be wanting to do it and with such a comfortable lead at the front, he's in a place where he probably can take a few risks and make a couple of mistakes. So it is a strange situation for Bernie Hook, but he's got to take it race by race, and I think he's definitely got a chance of winning this race right on the back of that leading group. But Holly Harris doing a brilliant job at this. If she does manage to fend off Andy Whedon and Bernie Hook, that would be her second win in the Senior Minimoto class, and second win here at FAB-Racing. So doing a brilliant job out the front of this one. Still 6 laps to go in this race, so plenty of time for the action to unfold here, but it's your front 3 battling it out.
Yep, Holly Harris from Andy Whedon and Bernie Hook with Dom Craden a little bit further behind. You see Andy Whedon go a little bit wide there, taking a different line, which is interesting to see a lot of these riders using different lines, and they often take the wet line in these conditions, but Andy Whedon just a slight different line there. You can see Bernie Hook just having a look to the inside, seeing if the door is open, but Andy getting a nice run here on Holly and starting to put the pressure on. We've got 6 laps left to go, so we're 50% of the way through this first race of the weekend. Holly Harris looking to pick up, as you say, her second win on the season. She became the first ever female race winner here at FAB a couple of weekends ago, and equally she's picked up some podiums since then, so it's been a great introduction for Holly into the category since moving up from the LC40 Elites after Lids. So she will, I'm sure, be hoping at picking up this one, but Andy Whedon is not going to be messed with. He's not going to let her get away, and she's definitely not dropping these 2 behind, so it's going to continue going on for the next 5 laps.
Yeah, absolutely, and we talk about Bernie Hook making the most of the fact that there's no Josh Birkin and Matt Birkin here at the moment, but he goes into second place now. So Bernie Hook, like we said, looking to try and taste victory once again, makes a move on Andy Whedon. Brilliant move there to take second place. Bit of breathing space now Holly Harris has, but Bernie Hook will be looking to close that down and try and take this victory away from the number 15 of Holly Harris. But this battle at the front really hotting up nicely, and it looks as if Bernie Hook has got a little bit more pace than both of these guys. He's looking eager to try and make his way through and see if he can have a go at breaking away at the front. He did take the fastest lap of the race on that last lap, but it wasn't a great deal faster than everyone else, but it definitely to me looks like he's just got a little bit more pace, and if he can get through, can try and find a way to make a gap at the front. But like we said, he doesn't have to take too many risks. He's got a comfortable lead in the championship out the front, but it's all about what he can do now about the number 15 of Holly Harris.
Yep, but watch out for Andy Whedon, the rider behind on the number 7 bike. He's yet to, well, he's picked up 2 third-place finishes, not yet finished higher than third, so I'm sure he will have his eyes firmly set on Bernie Hook and Holly Harris ahead. He will want to be improving that step on the podium, and he is closing in. He's not being dropped by Bernie since being passed 2 laps ago, so it is still all to play for here in the Senior Minimotos. We've got 4 laps left to go as Bernie Hook gets a good run of the dogleg hairpin, but not able to get past Holly. And you can say a quick look and a quick glance behind out of the corner for Holly, just trying to look where Bernie is in her peripheral vision, but you can see back on the pace, opens up the throttle and down the main straight in towards turn 1, and here comes Andy Whedon up the inside of Bernie Hook. Can he get the move done? Not quite, but the door was open. You can see a quick glance behind there for Bernie Hook. He probably thought, I'd already got the move done on you, but you can see closing the door once again. So Andy Whedon not giving up on this second place.
Yeah, Andy Whedon is definitely not giving up there in third position. Had a little cheeky look up the inside into turn 1. Couldn't quite make a move stick, but he'll definitely be trying that one again as he gets right onto the back wheel of Bernie Hook now. So looking menacing in third position is the number 7 of Andy Whedon, but equally the number 0 of Bernie Hook looking really menacing again, really strong through that dog leg hairpin, but down into the hairpin comes the number 7 of Andy Whedon up into second place now ahead of Bernie Hook. We were talking about how Bernie Hook's going to make most of the situation without Matt Birkin being here, but at the same time so will Holly Harris, because she's 4th in the championship just behind the 2 Birkins, and this could be an opportunity for her to move up into second place in the championship as well. Yeah,
just second place would actually move her up into third in the championship ahead of Josh Birkin, so she just needs to hold on to these positions and she'll be picking up some some really well-deserved points, but Andy Whedon is looking mighty in these final stages. We're on the penultimate lap, just a lap and a half left to go, and he's already got past Bernie Hook, and you can see the pair of them have dropped him by about half a second, almost up to a second now. So Bernie Hook falling away somewhat. Andy Whedon really coming alive in these final stages, gets a really good run out on Holly as they come up towards the dogleg hairpin, and now exiting turn 8 towards the slingshot hairpin down at turn 9, and Holly Harris holding onto that inside line. She's going to make sure she covers off every single overtaking opportunity that Andy Whedon might find. We can see he's using much wider lines, gives himself a little bit more turning, a little bit more speed on exit, and that's what he's going to need to get past Holly.
Yeah, absolutely. 1 lap to go in this Senior Mini Moto race. Holly Harris is led from start almost to finish now. She's leading this penultimate lap. As we look further back, that's Craden down, unfortunately. So that's Dom Craden who's gone down on the final lap, but Holly Harris has led all race long, so it'd be such a shame if she loses this lead. But Andy Whedon is looking like he wants to take that lead as he made a move down into that corner. They go down into the left-hander, but it's Andy Whedon who's holding that lead on at the moment. So what can Holly Harris do about the number 7 of Andy Whedon? Looks like he's got a little bit of breathing space now as he comes through the dogleg chicane. He goes down towards the hairpin for the final time. Holly Harris isn't quite close enough to make a move stick. Just 2 more corners after this one for the number 7 as they go into the left-hand hairpin. It's looking like it's going to be Andy Whedon who's going to take this one as he goes through the final corner, and it is Andy Whedon who takes the checkered flag and takes the win. The number 7 rider taking the win there ahead of Holly Harris, and Bernie Hook will take 3rd place. So an absolutely brilliant last lap charge there from the number 7 of Andy Whedon.
Yeah, sensational fight back from Andy Whedon. Was dropped to 3rd place behind Bernie Hook, and managed to recover and last lap charge and straight up past Holly Harris with 4 corners left to go, and he picks up his first win of the season. His best result so far was 2 third place finishes, so he will be, I'm sure, absolutely elated with that, picking up that first one, and is exactly what you need to do to set yourself up for a strong second half of the season. But it was Andy Whedon who managed to do a 59 flat, so the only rider to go underneath the 1 minute mark on that last lap, and he takes the win ahead of Holly Harris and Bernie Hook rounding out the podium. Unfortunately, we lost Dom Craden after that fall on the last lap, and Will Howarth and Paul Nichols unable to make the start. But yeah, Andy Whedon, a deserved victor. But Holly Harris's brilliant performance in that first race, unfortunately not reaping her the result that she wanted, but she does move up to 3rd in the championship on 148 points, and she leads into turn 1 with a pole position. Holly Harris on 1st with Andy Whedon in 2nd, yesterday's race winner. Will Howarth in 3rd place, with Bernie Hook lining up 4th, of course, finished on the podium. Dom Craden in 5th, he was a non-finisher yesterday, with Paul Nichols lining up in 6th. It's a smaller grid for the Senior Minimotos. We've not got Matt and Josh Perkin, and we do miss them because they do provide us a lot of entertainment. But if you're Bernie Hook, that's your eyes are beaming with no Matt Perkin, because Matt was triple race winner back at Wilton Mill, looked very, very strong, and Bernie Hook's championship lead had been whittled down, but it's now been re-extended. So yeah, I'm sure if you're Bernie, you're pretty happy with a missing dual Birkin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but Will Howarth is back this weekend, and he's back on the grid for this one. We saw how strong he was back at Lids, and also Nick Bennett will be joining the grid for this one. Wasn't here earlier in the weekend, so this is the first time he's going to see this circuit. Was in warm-up, and he's going to be joining onto the back of this grid in 7th spot on the grid. So watch out for him. It's going to be a tall order for him, starting from the back of the grid and having to learn this circuit as he's going around here in the race. Of course, no dry track time for him, but it's still only a drying line around this circuit at the moment as we wait to get this race underway. And it is a good start there from the number 15 of Holly Harris from pole position, leads down into turn 1, and Bernie Hook now into 2nd place.
Yeah, good start there from Bernie Hook, who swept around the outside of Andy Whedon into turn 1, of course, with that gold visor. But Holly Harris getting a good run off the line, and she holds on to the lead of this one as they enter into the infield section for the first time. But Bernie Hook looking very, very strong early on, and he's staying right on the tail of Holly Harris, but you can see ducking down, trying to negate any sort of aero distribution here and to make yourself as streamlined as possible in these mini bikes. But heading down towards the dogleg hairpin for the first time, Holly Harris holding on to the lead of this one. and I'm sure if you're Holly Harris, after losing the lead on the last lap in race 1, will be absolutely desperate to make sure she converts that into a race win this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. Second place yesterday, and we'll be looking to go one better in this one today. But Nick Bennett there on the red bike, only seen this circuit for the first time this morning, and already on the back of this front group, just on the back of Andy Weedon, the number 7, who won the race yesterday, and with Will Howarth leading that group as well. So already in a battle for the podium, and he hasn't even seen this circuit yet. But Holly Harris then setting the fastest lap on that last lap, and has about a second lead over the line over the championship leader, the number 0 of Bernie Hook. Holly Harris now moving up into third place in the championship overnight after securing a good second place yesterday. Bernie Hook still in second, a bit of a lonely second at the moment for Bernie Hook, but what can Will Howarth do on the number 96 machine just behind, you see there, with the all black leathers, just in front of the number 7 of Andy Weedon, and Nick Bennett doing really well to stay on the back of these guys.
Yeah, very much so, and he is quite comfortably staying with yesterday's race winner Andy Weedon. Will Howarth, who's already taken 3 wins on the season back at Lyd when he joined us for the first 2 rounds of the season, he's not quite closing in on Bernie Hook, but you can see Holly Harris now extending that gap up the front. She's now brought it up a little bit. Fastest lap there for Nick Bennett at 57.926. So Nick Bennett really starting to put some serious laps in, trying to challenge with Will Howarth and with Andy Weedon, trying to sweep to the inside. In fact, gets the position. Will he have the cut back down on him going into the infield section? No, he managed to make the position there, so great move into turn 3.
Yeah, really good stuff from Nick Bennett. He doesn't need practice, he doesn't need qualifying. He goes out there, sets the fastest lap of the race, and is challenging for podium positions. Right on the back wheel now of the number 7 of Andy Weedon, and Andy Weedon now right on the back wheel of Bernie Hook. So this battle for third place is now turned into a battle for second, and Holly Harris not far in front at the moment either. So Bernie Hook closing in on Holly Harris, and at the same time the number 7 of Andy Weedon has closed in on Bernie Hook. So this is turning into a battle for the lead now. Nick Bennett all the meanwhile in this battle for the lead as well.
And here comes the 7 to the inside of Bernie Hook. Does he get the line into turn 1? It does look as though Andy Weedon may get the position up into turn 1. Bernie Hook might even lose second and third position, because Andy Weedon's having a look to Nick Bennett's having a look to him as well, but Bernie Hook just holding on to position. This is allowing Holly Harris to just get that little bit of a gap up in the front of the field, and behind in 6th and 7th, Dom Craden and Paul Nicholls having a right ding-dong on circuit as they fight over 6th and 7th position as well. So Dom Craden, the 00, and Paul Nicholls, the 24, battling over 6th and 7th. But there is Nick Bennett, Will have Paul and Andy Weedon fighting over the third place. Andy Weedon is currently holding on to Bernie Hook and Andy Weedon, of course, that have been involved in this race-long battle. It is allowing Holly, I say that as the 7 of Andy Weedon closes in on Holly Harris, and she's going to look behind her and think, oh, it's deja vu. I get to see you in my peripheral vision again. And once again, Andy Weedon looking very strong late in this race.
Yeah, Andy Weedon, yesterday's race winner, sets the fastest lap of the race on that last lap, and now right on the back wheel of your race leader with 5 laps to go in this one. It's plenty of time for Andy Weedon to try and pick up a second victory as your championship leader, now down to 5th place in this one. The number 0 of Bernie Hook now down to 5th place and dropping off the back of these guys as well. But it's a 2-rider battle of the front, with Nick Bennett now in 3rd place, Will Howarth in 4th. Andy Weedon getting a good drive out of there, and then down into the dogleg hairpin right on the back wheel now of the number 15 of Holly Harris. Where will he try and make a move stick? He looks to the inside as they go down into the slingshot hairpin. Can't quite make a move stick there, but still plenty of time left to go for Andy Weedon. 4 laps to go it'll be when they cross the line down into the final corner, coming to cross the line, and 4 laps to go in this race. Nick Bennett, a distant third now, is going to have to defend that from Will Howarth, who's looking ominous just behind. But it's all about this battle for the win between the number 15 of Holly Harris and the number 7 of Andy Weedon, looking to pick up his second victory this weekend, and takes a swooping line around that turn 2.
Yeah, very close racing between Holly Harris and Andy Weedon leading this one. What the loser in this battle has been Bernie Hook, possibly an issue for the current or the reigning champion and the championship leader. He's now fallen almost 5 seconds. He was in 2nd place just 3 laps ago. He's now found himself in 5th place and 5 seconds off of Will Howarth, who's currently in 4th position. So Bernie Hook not enjoying race 2 here, but one rider that will not be enjoying herself is Holly Harris, because she's got the number 7 of Andy Whedon breathing down the back of her neck, and this is exactly what we saw in race 1. Andy Whedon just followed Holly until the last stages of the last lap and then made that move with 3 corners to go. And well, is history going to repeat itself, Trystan? Because Holly Harris is leading. Will Andy Whedon do exactly what he did yesterday, wait until the last minute, not give her a chance to come back and sweep into the lead of this one?
Well, you know what, I was just thinking that. I was just thinking the number 7 of Andy Whedon's just waiting till that last lap again, just following and waiting to snatch the victory away from Holly Harris on the final lap like he did yesterday. But Holly will be one race wiser going into the final lap of this one. She'll have remembered what Andy Whedon did yesterday, and will be trying to cover her lines as much as possible going towards the end of this race, as we see a rider coming into pit lane in the background there as well. Andy Whedon seems to get really close going down into the slingshot hairpin, but doesn't quite make a move stick, so perhaps having a little look to see where he can try and make a move stick for later in this race. Takes some really wide lines on that Minimoto machine. It's really interesting to see the contrast in lines between Holly Harris and Andy Whedon, but both lines working really well, obviously, as their lap times are really close together, both with a 58.0 on that last lap, and really close lap times for these 2 guys at the front. But it's Andy Whedon taking that wide line again into turn 2 as they head down into the left-hander once again, down towards turn 5, and that's Nick Bennett that's gone down, crashing out of 3rd place, trying to get the bike restarted, straightening up the handlebars and trying to get back into this race. So Nick Bennett, who hasn't seen this circuit before today, was in 3rd place in this race and now crashed out. But it's all about this battle at the front. They go down into the slingshot hairpin for the penultimate time, and then down into the left-hand hairpin before the right-hander, and it's going to be 1 lap to go for these guys as they come across the line.
What can Holly Harris do? She knows that Andy Whedon is going to have a look to send it down the inside into the final lap. There's the last lap flag. She's just got to hold on for 11 more corners, but Andy Whedon will be thinking, I did it last time, I did it yesterday, I'll do it again. But she's got a little bit of a gap here, but it is the infield section where Andy starts to close in on her, and he sets himself up for a move in towards the late stages of the lap. So he has once again closed in as they exit the hairpin at turn 4, run down the back straight at the infield section in towards turn 5, a quick left-hander now to the dogleg hairpin, and you can see that gap has really closed up. It's going to go right down to the wire. To the inside goes Andy Whedon. Is he going to get the inside line? He does. He takes the lead on the final lap. Holly Harris, can she come back? You can see trying everything down into the slingshot hairpin. Not quite close enough. Once again, in exactly the same place, Andy Whedon makes the move. Holly Harris looks to the inside. Not quite close enough. It's covered off by Andy Whedon. Back on the power. Andy Whedon to the line. Holly Harris behind. Exactly the same has happened. Andy Whedon steals it on the final lap. Holly Harris picking up another 2nd place finish, and she will be gutted with that. That's the 2nd time in 2 days. You could see she was not happy. The history has repeated itself. Lightning has struck twice, deja vu, all of those things, and unfortunately for Holly, that's another win stolen from her with just a few corners left to go.
Yeah, but it is still 20 points in the championship. She'll have closed in on Matt Birkin for 2nd. She'll just be in 3rd spot, but just 1 point behind Matt Birkin at the moment. So in the next race, she'll be looking to take 2nd place in the championship away from Matt Birkin. But it was Andy Whedon that took the victory away from Holly Harris in that one. She went for the inside line down into the penultimate corner. Perhaps could have got the drive to the line if she took a bit of a wider line and got the drive out of that one, but something she will have learned and be one the wiser for into the next race. So Andy Whedon then picking up 2 victories so far this weekend in the Senior Minimoto category, and Holly Harris picking up 2 2nd places. Will Howarth with his return to the Senior Minimoto Championship now took 3rd place in that one, ahead of Nick Bennett, who crashed out, and Bernie Hook, your championship leader, 5th in that one, and rounding out that race with Paul Nichols.
The Senior Minimotos, and it's been a bit of deja vu if you're Holly Harris in this one. She has unfortunately she's led both races from the pole until the last lap with 3 corners left to go, and Andy Whedon in exactly the same position both times has overtaken her and taken it with 3 corners left to go. So let's see if Holly can hold on to it this time. She will be starting on the pole. ahead of Andy Whedon, who's taken those 2 wins. Will Howarth, who is returning, he's picked up a really good 3rd place and a podium in his return to the mini bikes as well. But yeah, if you're Holly, you've got to think she's going to want this win, isn't she? Adding to that 1 win that she took a few rounds ago. But Andy Whedon seems to have her number this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. She definitely wins the prize of leading the most laps in the Senior Minimoto category, and possibly leading the most laps out of anyone else in the paddock. But always getting it snatched away from her right at the end of these races. But it's Holly Harris then that lines up on pole position. We actually spoke to her earlier in the weekend as well.
Really happy. It's been a long time since I've been able to get a podium, but yeah, it's my first proper one in FAB.
And obviously you took a race win a couple of races ago, a couple of podiums. The podiums last time out, of course, back at Wilton Mill. So what are you looking for this weekend?
Well, hopefully I get another podium again so I can get a few points to get higher in the championship.
And that is 2 podiums for Holly Harris so far this weekend, and has moved up to 3rd place in the championship, and just 1 point behind Matt Birkin, who's in 2nd place and isn't here this weekend. So she will be moving up into 2nd place in this race. As we said, she lines up just ahead of the number 7 of Andy Whedon, who's taken 2 wins so far this weekend. Will Howarth lines up in 3rd ahead of Bernie Hook in 4th. Tom Craden in 5th, who suffered a DNF in the first race, and ahead of Paul Nichols, the number 24, in 6th. Also, Nick Bennett will be lining up in 7th spot on the grid. He's just seen the Ellough Park circuit today, wasn't here yesterday or Friday, so his first proper bit of track time was this morning at warm-up and then the race, but was already looking pretty quick. But all his track time so far has been in the dry, been in the wet rather, and now he's going to be facing an Ellough Park circuit in the dry, so more learning for Nick Bennett in this one. Yeah, and he started really well, was fighting for the podium positions, unfortunately just going down and falling down the order, so unfortunate for Nick Bennett. But watch out for this lead battle. It's Holly Harris versus Andy Whedon. Round 3. Andy Whedon's taking the first 2 rounds. Holly Harris has licked her wounds, and I'm sure she will come back strong in this one. She'll be lining up on the pole, but she will have her eyes firmly fixed on turn 1. But Andy Whedon will see if he can get her off the line and make sure he doesn't have to send it into the last corner. But off the line, it's a good start from Andy Whedon. Holly Harris is down off the start, the bike getting away from her, so already the pole sitter's down. So down into turn 1 goes Andy Whedon, but up the inside is already, we've seen both Bernie Hook and Will Howarth with a very good start indeed. So yeah, disaster for Holly off the start line. Yeah, just seemed to get a foot caught off of the line there, and just the bike was making all sorts of shapes, and unfortunately went down off of the line there. But it's Will Howarth then now who's leading this one. We saw was really strong in the dry back at Lydd, and now looking to assert his dominance again in the Senior Mini Moto class. Bernie Hook, your championship leader, currently in 3rd, with Andy Whedon, who's picked up 2 wins so far this weekend, in 2nd place. Bernie Hook all over the back of him though there, with the gold bike, the number 0 there, with the black helmet, all over the back of the number 7 of Andy Whedon at the moment. But Will Howarth looking to pick up another win in this class. He's been absent from the last 2 rounds. There was no Will Howarth at Wilton Mill or at Clay Pigeon, but he's back here ready to show us what he can do on these smaller bikes in the Senior Mini Moto category, and was the fastest off of the line on that last lap, and already has a 0.7 of a second advantage. There's Holly Harrison back on the bike and looking to pick up points for this championship, so she's looking to recover from that incident off of the line and catching the number 24 of Paul Nichols. Yeah, just an instant, just trying to too eager to get the bike started and get the jump on Andy Whedon. But with these points, of course, if she manages to finish, she will be moving up in 2nd in the championship. Bernie Hook still leading this one, but Will Howarth, as you say, leading the race and with the fastest lap after the first few laps. And yeah, Will back at the front. He's already taken 3 wins on the season. He's looking for a 4th now that he's back here at FAB. But behind, he's still got Andy Whedon and Bernie Hook. So Andy Whedon, very, very strong weekend for the 7 bike. He's currently in 2nd position. He's taken 2 wins. So if you're Andy Whedon, you've got to be delighted so far with your weekend's returns. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't get much better than winning both races so far, apart from winning the third one. But it looks as if he's going to have to really put a shift on if he's going to take this one, because Bernie Hook now has made his way in front of the number 7 of Andy Whedon, and he's going to be looking to show that he has what it takes to catch Will Howarth. It was 1.2 seconds last time over the line, but now Bernie Hook is ahead of Andy Whedon. Will he be able to close down the number 96 of Will Howarth? Obviously, this circuit new to all of these riders, but Will Howarth and as Nick Bennett goes, Andy Whedon goes up the inside of Bernie Hook, so Andy Whedon back into second place, and whilst Will Howarth is extending that lead even further, 3.7 seconds it was over the line, so no one's catching Will Howarth. 54.9 on that last lap, which is a good bit quicker than anyone else on circuit.
Yeah, 1.2 seconds faster than both Andy Whedon and Bernie Hook now. But in fact, that battle for second position is bringing Nick Bennett into play. He's closing the gap now down to 2.2 seconds. So Nick Bennett not out of this fight for the podium. This fight here between Andy Whedon and Bernie Hook, your reigning champion and championship leader on the gold bike with the gold visor on that black lid. He is definitely looking at picking up some more points, and it's interesting to see Bernie. He's had a couple of off races, just kind of fighting down second and third, but now Will Howarth is back. Does that make you pick up the pace now that he knows, oh, there's someone here that's going to be picking up some wins? I need to make sure that I'm getting seconds, firsts, wins. He needs to be pushing a little bit harder.
Absolutely. I mean, we know how scary it can be when Will Howarth comes back into a championship. We saw over in the Moto team class the face of Simon Clowes when we mentioned that Will Howarth was back, but now it's Nick Bennett that's caught up to these guys, tries to go around the outside of the championship leader, but that's not going to work. The number 0 is a championship leader for a reason, but he tries to go up the inside, so Nick Bennett really finding good pace here to catch up to this battle for second place, and if he can get through on these guys, and he's got through on the number 0 of Bernie Hook, and now his sights will be set on Andy Whedon, the number 7. So the number 711 chasing down the number 7 now, and if Nick Bennett gets through on these guys, I have a feeling he's going to be able to pull away.
Yeah, Nick Bennett has been looking very, very strong. We've got 5 laps left to go, as that turns into 4 laps left to go as Will Howarth crosses the line, and he's got himself a monster of a lead. Across the line comes second, third and fourth in quick succession, and it's a 7.4 second lead for Will Howarth, and of course we'll see him later this afternoon in the Moto Team class as well, where he's already taken 2 wins on the weekend. But this battle between Andy Whedon, Nick Bennett and Bernie Hook is going to go right down to the wire. Holly Harris has managed to pass or catch and pass Dom Craden, so she now moves up into 5th position. But yeah, it is Will Howarth at the front checking up, but you can see, as you say, Nick Bennett really closing in on Andy Whedon now, looking very, very strong. In fact, he's got a good run on him here, but the door firmly shut by Andy Whedon. Andy will be buoyed by his 2 victories already so far this weekend. Bernie Hook, in fact, gets a really nice run out of the dogleg hairpin down towards the slingshot hairpin. Can he go down the inside? No, Nick covers that apex and shuts the door. But once again, these 3 just enjoying the company out on circuit, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant battle going on here as Bernie Hook has a look up the inside through the final corner. That would be a very scary move to make stick, and it just opts out of that one. But Nick Bennett now, what can he do about Andy Whedon? He's caught up to these guys rather quickly, but now just stuck in that group at the moment as Bernie Hook goes up the inside at turn 2. Brilliant move there from Bernie Hook, and Andy Whedon has a moment coming out of there. Nick Bennett looks to the inside, can't quite make a move stick, so all action here at the moment as Nick Bennett still stays in the middle of that group, but we have a swap around with second and fourth as Bernie Hook goes up into second, Andy Whedon now down to 4th. There's Holly Harris, the number 15, recovering from that fall earlier on, up into 5th place now, so we'll be set to pick up some points for that championship. Really unfortunate way to end the weekend, but we'll move up into 2nd place in the championship nonetheless, picking up points in this race. Back to this battle further up the front then, it's Bernie Hook now who's putting the hammer down at the front now, setting a 56.1 on that last lap, and a good almost a second quicker than Nick Bennett on that last lap, and pulling out a little bit of a gap now as they come up to some lapped traffic. That's number 24 of Paul Nichols, who they're just coming round to lap there. And Bernie Hook's done a brilliant job of placing the lap traffic in between him and Nick Bennett, and just trying to stretch out that advantage even more. Will Nick Bennett be able to close down Bernie Hook?
Yeah, playtime was over for Bernie Hook. He was finished battling, and he wants to get to the front of this gaggle of bikes and check out, and that's what he's done. He's bought himself a nice gap between himself and Nick Bennett, who's in third. But I say that as Bernie Hook goes very deep into the slingshot hairpin, opens the door for Nick Bennett, so that gap that was up at about 0.7 of a second is now down to about 2 as they come up to the line. We're on the last lap of the race, and Will Howarth is streaking away. He's now into the infield section just as his competitors and rivals cross the line. So Will Howarth off into the distance, but up the inside goes Nick Bennett into second position. So that fight for second has now changed. It's Nick Bennett that's got past Bernie Hook. So Nick Bennett now up, and it looks as though Bernie Hook has dropped a little bit of gap between himself and Nick Bennett. So that might be Nick Bennett up into second. Will Howarth is entering into, in fact, we've got an issue for Bernie Hook because he's dropped behind Andy Whedon. So Bernie Hook already falling down, but Will Howarth coming into the final few corners of this one. What a race, what a return to the weekend for Will Howarth on the mini bikes. He comes home, he picks up third in race 2. He's going to pick up an absolutely blistering win here. Across the line comes Will Howarth in second position. It's going to be a fight for Nick Bennett, who's made his way into it, used that unfortunate issue for Bernie Hook, who's cruising to the line. Andy Whedon in third, and Holly Harris is just about going to miss out on catching Bernie Hook, and Holly Harris comes across the line in 5th position behind Bernie Hook. Dom Craden in 6th place. But yeah, Bernie Hook, I'm sure he's sweating under that. He had to cruise around the last 2/3 of that lap, and Holly Harris only 3 seconds behind after being 12 seconds down at the start of the lap.
Yeah, absolutely, but still picking up points for that championship was Bernie Hook, and equally Holly Harris now moving up into second place in the championship behind Bernie Hook, your championship leader. But a brilliant victory from Will Howarth. He's returned and showed us what he can do in this senior mini moto category. So a brilliant win by 7.1 seconds over the number 711 of Nick Bennett. Andy Whedon rounding out the podium ahead of Bernie Hook, Holly Harris, Dom Craden, and unfortunately Paul Nichols suffering from a DNF late in that race.